name is Ernie. I'm the co-founder and CTO for LinkConnector Corporation. Hope everybody's getting what they want out of Affiliate Summit so far. I know that there's a few people in the room I recognize, but not all of you know me, so I'm going to start by giving a little bit of background on me. And don't boo me too much about the Boston sports fan part, but I was raised in Massachusetts, so it's kind of had to happen. My wife and I live in Colorado now. We actually have a 7-month-old grandchild, and like every grandparent, I'll say it's the most beautiful baby and the most fun baby ever. Oh, how'd that get in there? Let me go back. Okay, I'm not actually an avid Pokemon Go player, but I know people that are, including some of my employees who assure me they don't actually do it at work. And then last, I'm an Air Force veteran. Any other veterans in the room? Thanks for your service. Okay. So let's start with this chart, which kind of shows the number of mobile users, and everybody kind of knows this. We've seen charts like this before, that mobile has been increasing at an exponential rate. And it's surpassed desktop, but what I find most interesting about this chart, people concentrate on mobile passing desktop, but as you see, the desktop line is still going up too. So that's kind of a good thing for us in the affiliate marketing industry, that online use in general is going up, even desktop. Now, if we look at some time spent on different devices, you can see that mobile's increased substantially over the last few years. But desktop has kind of maintained its steady pace. This is usage of internet usage by device. And I want to bring your attention to the yellow part of the chart, too. That represents other connected devices, which we'll talk a little bit more about here in the future as we get into more multi-device. So when you look at this chart, I'd like you to kind of think about, how is your usage kind of like this? It's about 50% of your time on mobile. And most of you in the room probably spend a lot of time on your desktop, which is kind of the normal user. But I think it's pretty interesting to think about it that way. Now let's talk about what kinds of devices make up multi-device world. Okay. This image kind of shows a bunch of them that we've seen, but we've recorded about thousands of different devices that are out there. It's amazing how many different ones you can find. So I'm going to start now. This is the audience participation portion of the presentation. So just to help us all out to understand what our usage is like, everybody that has a desktop or a laptop computer, go ahead and stand up. Okay, everybody's going to stand up, I'm thinking. Okay, so if you own a smartphone, remain standing. Okay, if you have a tablet, you can remain standing. Okay, so look around. You've got, I don't know, 90% of the room that has all three devices. Okay, so now if your household has a gaming console or smart TV, you can sit down. Oh, stand up. Sorry, a little bit of false negative there. Okay, so everybody, that's 4 devices for all of you guys, and this is the last one I promise. Everybody that owns a Tesla, stay standing.
What about a Prius?
No, just Tesla. Okay.
I own Tesla stock. Does that count?
That does count, because what I'm going to say next kind of applies. So what did we learn from that exercise? Well, we learned that it's a vastly multi-device world. We all have a lot of devices in our lives. We also learned that Elon Musk doesn't yet rule the world, although he so soon someday will, probably. So this is a chart from Global Web Index, kind of showing the most popular devices and their search usage. And I found in this chart, one of the more interesting things is that the game consoles, 37% of them actually are using search on those. If you look at other devices, you'll recognize some that are on here as well and what their search usage is. So I know we just did our own very scientific survey, but there's a company called Pew, kind of an unfortunate name, that indicates that 66% of Americans own at least 2 devices, and 36% own all 3. So in this particular, our survey was about 90% that owned all 3. So how is multi-device tracking different from regular tracking? So these two parts of the slide show you that if we're device to device, one device to the same device, it's easy to track. We've been doing that for almost 20 years in the affiliate marketing industry. What hasn't been being done is one device to a different device, which is more difficult to track. Google actually indicates that just looking at the mobile side of things, that 30% of our mobile phones are actually mobile-to-mobile sales anymore. So that's become a big part of things, but as we'll get into this, I'll explain how multi-device has become a very big part. People start on one device, end on another. And as affiliates, even as merchants who have affiliate programs, you definitely want that to be tracked. Okay, so we'll get into a little technical stuff about multi-device. The first is that there's two competing methodologies, deterministic and probabilistic. I said that, I think, well. And then there's device or platform for the kinds of implementation. Now, both types, and both types of methodologies and implementations require a lot of data. So there's definitely a lot of people that are involved in the process to help acquire this data to make it possible to do multi-device tracking. Some of the data that is recorded are things like device information, and user location, things like the cookie or the click, the date and time for that. And then user identification information, which isn't your email and anything specific about you. It's a generic identifier. So what's the difference between deterministic and probabilistic? Well, these were terms coined by Affiliate Window, one of the other multi-device networks in this particular technology. And the key thing is the last bullet there, the 100% accurate versus less accurate. So deterministic basically knows 100% of the time that when it's matching up devices, that the same person owns those devices. Probabilistic bases a lot of its data on things like IPs and browser agents and things like that. And to be fair, they take a high probability, but it's not 100% probability to match devices. The difference between device and platform is that, as you probably all recognize, and what we're trying to represent on the right here are the different browsers you can have on a desktop. The same thing, of course, happens on a phone or any device for that matter. As you know, browsers, or may not know, but browsers have all distinct cookies. So the platform implementation takes into account all those different cookies from all those different platforms. And the same thing applies to applications that might occur on a smartphone. So you have applications that also have unique signatures, and it can be tracked. Okay, so let's go through a little example of how we might see in the real world cross-platform working. So this gentleman here had the opportunity to drop his wife off to go grocery shopping, and he had a little time on his hands. Sitting in a car, starts thinking about that red shirt that his wife told him he needed to get for a Valentine's Day party coming up in a couple of weeks. So he goes ahead and gets online, starts surfing, searches for red shirt, clicks on a link, happens to be an affiliate link, goes to redshirt.com. At that point, he decides, yeah, I'm not going to finish the transaction here. I got to go through a shopping cart on my phone. I'm not going to do that, but when I get home, I'll go ahead and buy the shirt. Sure enough, his wife comes out from shopping. They go home. He gets on redshirt.com because he remembers the domain name and goes ahead and buys a shirt. Of course, in this case, there's no way to track in a traditional sense the affiliate tracking. So what happens under the hood? So what happens under the hood is the system does record the phone cookie into that merchant's list of cookies. That's cookie number 1 over there on the left. And then when he went to redshirt.com and clicked and converted, the conversion is cookie 3, which is now calling the network and say, hey, do you have cookie 3 available to you? Well, it doesn't have cookie 3 in the database, but through cross-platform or multi-device tracking, you can actually tie the user to the different devices. So he actually started tracking on the phone, ended up on the desktop. You can give credit to the affiliate that promoted him. So now that same slide we saw earlier where it said cannot track becomes a can track. And this, of course, occurs across every device and platform that might be unique. So what are we seeing in the way of data for cross-platform? This is a chart that shows that our own data since the beginning of the year, and this is 10% of all of our transactions. So the other 85 to 90% are still traditional tracking, but we're seeing a substantial increase in cross-platform tracking. Now the trend's upward. I don't know where it will stop. It might flatten out like the one we saw with desktop usage, but I don't think it's going to flatten out anytime soon. And the reason for that really, there are two primary reasons. One is we're still accumulating data. We still don't have data on most of the people out there. Once we start accumulating more, we'll be able to actually map and match more. And the other thing is people just are using so many more pieces, multi-devices, so there's a lot more to track and a lot more opportunity in the future to make multi-device a bigger part of our tracking technology. We also thought it'd be interesting to look at the data in different ways to see if there's any difference between traditional tracking and multi-device tracking. So we looked here at click-to-event differences. And you can see in traditional, most of the stuff happens early on. As you can imagine, you're on your device, you finish on your device, it's going to happen early on in the process. In the multi-device sense, of course, you've created a promotion, and then maybe certainly sometime later, as this shows, sometimes much later, you'll actually complete the transaction. So one of the things, one takeaways I have from this is I would recommend that a merchant or an advertiser have longer cookie durations if they want to take advantage of multi-device tracking. Otherwise, they'll chop off some of the advantages in multi-device tracking. We also looked at promotion type differences. And a couple of things you can see here. By the way, these are the same two campaigns we just saw in the previous slide. You can see that display has a bigger effect in the multi-device than it does in loyalty, and so does search. And coupon actually has less of an effect in the multi-device over traditional. So what are the benefits to the two parts of the equation here, the affiliate and the merchant? So the affiliate benefits from increased conversion, which means more money to the affiliate. And they also get better channel value. What that means is they now know that mobile promotion they did actually meant the difference to them. If you can't match it up, then they won't know that, and they won't promote as much in that channel. So that helps them to know both of those things. On the merchant side, they get a lot more data. They get data from affiliate marketing that they can use in some of their in-house promotions. So with affiliate marketing, we can tell them about a lot of, where is their real user base? How are they using and how are they getting to that merchant and buying things? And so that's important because if they have an in-house SEM team, they don't really know that otherwise. They will know it from this cross-platform tracking. So what should you do when you get up and leave the room here and head out? What you need to do is your favorite affiliate network, you need to go talk to them, find out what they're doing in multi-device tracking because it can be a big uplift in your campaigns. These are three that I have listed up here. There is a fourth that didn't make this slide. I have to get the slides in a couple weeks early. But TradeDoubler also does multi-device tracking. And there's probably others. If you have others that you know about, when we get to the question and answer session, I'd be happy to have you share that with the group. But find your favorite network. If your favorite network doesn't have multi-device tracking, then I suggest you find a new favorite network. Okay, are there any questions? We are, by the way, answering questions. We're giving out swag. So my capable assistant over here, Courtney, will be handing out swag. So questions are worth some swag to you. Yes?
How exactly does the multi-device tracking work? If you're on two distinct devices, how do you make the connection if someone comes on their smartphone and is browsing, and then they go home, desktop, and then make the purchase? How do you make those?
Okay, I'm trying to go back. So the question is, how do we make the connection between the one device and then the actual device that incurs the event? So here you got the two devices, and you've got the cookie device. The first cookie on a promotion side is a phone, and on this side it's an event. So we have a table, a profile in between, device profile, if you will, that we've built over time, that data partners help us to build, that allows us to know phone, tablet, desktop for a particular user. So now we can go working backwards from the event. We can look in this table, find out there's other cookies associated with that user, match those cookies up to the merchant's database. So, yes?
You said there's a difference between a platform cookie and a device cookie.
Sure. Let me see if I can get back to that slide. Okay, the question was, there's a difference between platform cookies and device cookies, and what's the difference? I know that for our technology, it's platform-based. So every single, I don't know, does everybody use multiple browsers even on their desktop? Okay, so if you went somewhere and clicked on an affiliate link on one of those browsers and then went to the other browser to complete the transaction, it's just like two different devices. So we treat the platforms, so a browser with this individual cookie is a platform. And so this is representing like 5 different platforms on a desktop, where a device cookie usually usually represents one device.
Once you've signed into like the same website but on different devices, maybe you clear the cookies. You're saying that companies keep that aggregate information about you, so you can. That's how they track the multi-device in a way. Like
Okay.
there's like an aggregate place, like they have, just like they collect information.
Right. So more what you're talking about, the question is more about users that,
Privacy.
yeah, privacy. Yeah, so if you delete cookies, that's a different issue here. But there are technologies out there called fingerprinting that try to, effectively retrieve your cookie and connect you back up again. Yeah. Privacy issues are a sticky thing, and when we work with our data collectors, we make sure that they put in their privacy policies that this is the kind of things they're doing with their technology. So, but yeah, that's a valid concern. Yes, sir.
Sorry, it's still about the tracking, the device tracking.
Okay.
What if it's, I'm a designer myself, so what if it's a brand new device? Or let's say they have multiple devices in the same household, and he started on his mobile cell phone, he went to his wife's, downloaded it, ended up on the kid's iPad or MacBook Pro, whatever. How do you know? Is there a way, not to
Yeah. No. That's a. So the question is about the cookies on different devices, and how do I know it's actually the guy, the user, or the wife, or the child, or whatever? And that's a very good question. And really, in some sense, you don't know other than the behavior. So you have to also have a cookie on that for that merchant. So if you're going to buy a red shirt, your wife probably isn't going to buy a red shirt. She's going to buy a red dress on a whole different site. So that's the kind of the safety mechanism in that specific situation you're talking about, where you're all using the same devices. So that's why I say the user information isn't even about. I don't even know where the household is necessarily, but I do know that all those devices are somehow tied together. But that's a very good point. You can't really. You just have to. The behavior becomes the thing that saves you there, I think, in that case. But it's not unlike. It's not unlike the same situation on the same device, with the same cookie, because you could start there and your wife could end there, and you both had 2 different reasons for being at Amazon, and you're getting to be tracked. Yes.
Do you have any numbers on accuracy of this over multiple devices? Like how many drop-offs do you think that there are where it just didn't, the devices weren't connected, or for whatever reason through the data? Do you have any numbers on that?
So I haven't repeat the questions for the camera, so sorry for that. But yeah, do we have any information on the drop-off and the accuracy of the data? Well, there's really no drop-off in the accuracy of the data that is the deterministic model, because effectively we get help from the recognition help from data partners. So we know that that's a particular user, and we can record their data. Now, every time we see them, or a partner sees them, because what ends up happening, I might have a different phone, get new phones all the time, maybe a whole different model. That's a whole new device, and so there's a whole long history of things. Now, some of the older devices that you've had, you no longer use. I still have that in my database. So it's definitely accurate to looking at this slide, where you can actually go into this profile and find a user's devices.
Is that user ID the login to the device or the site?
User ID is typically what we work with a data partner that identifies the user. Usually it's an encoded thing, so we don't even know what it is, or a customer ID or something like that.
So you wouldn't have to be logged into, say, Amazon, between your mobile
you would not have to be logged in for that to connect. No, every time that you log in from a different device, the data partner, helps us to identify you so we can note it in our database. Yes?
Is this only for affiliate marketing, or can it be integrated to social media?
Yeah, so that's the question is this only for affiliate marketing? Can it be integrated elsewhere? It's the only other entities, if you will, that have this kind of stuff are like Google and Facebook and everybody that you log into everywhere. So yeah, it can be used really anywhere. Right now, what I'm dealing with today and talking about are the networks that have that technology, but it can be used elsewhere. So, any other questions? Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much for your time. Here's my information if you need to get a hold of me if I get there.